Welcome back. This week we're going to go back to an original pattern of mine. We're going to go with a landing strip. This thing is very much a jig style pattern. I wouldn't recommend trying to run this on a jerk strip. It kind of feels like you're pulling a wet sock through the water. But for a jig style, it is very effective. We'll get through and start getting into the tying here. But like I was saying, for the jig, it is very effective. It is very much a one-trick pony. You can run it on a jerk strip if you want, but it's going to get tiresome. I will say that. But we're going to start this out. We're going to measure our marabou out, and I start this just on the back side of the halfway point, and it's just one plume. Just kind of let that sit there, and you can keep that in for bulk. You can cut it. It doesn't really matter either way. And then we're going to throw some internal flash in here, just some gold Flashaboo. Let me get this stuff straightened out. Same as all of my other streamers with a marabou tail. You just take 2 strands, fold it in half, cut it, and then you wind up with, throw 4 in on my side, 4 in on the camera side, you wind up with 8 strands. And then we'll just take this right up to the front, give us a little bulk, a little taper, and we'll trim this off. Get my lid on here, and what we're going to do is take some marabou. I'll zoom out so I can explain this a little. With this marabou, we're going to tie it in space style, and I alluded to this a little bit on the Miss October video, but it's just like when you're doing schlopping, you just kind of take and push on the end there, and you can see where the natural bend is. This one's a good plume. Obviously I pre-sorted these, but you can kind of see, like when you push on this and you see the bend right there. I could have used the rest of those fibers, but I just peeled it back a little bit further. But you're looking for that bend. If you try and tie it in on a very rigid spot, it will have a tendency to split on you, and it's gonna build extra bulk and just be really tough to work with. So if you find that natural bend in the plume or on the stem, it's going to be easier to work with. Your fly's going to cooperate, and it's going to look a lot better as opposed to using the rigid portion. So just go ahead and grab your hackle pliers. We got the rotary vise going here, and run this to the front, or just evenly space it. You don't have to worry about getting too crazy about spacing. Just use up all of your fibers. And you can see I can get one more turn out of this. The rest of these aren't going to be able to be used. So just tie that off, peel everything back. And you can see we have a good looking body. Our tail is still back there. It's not prominent because it's covered up by the spay wraps, but we still have the bulk back there that we're looking for, and we still have the motion. The next thing we're going to take is a piece of foxtail. We're going to cut this off. This is just, I believe it's cream. That's what we're going to call it. I don't have the package here to tell you exactly what it is, but I want to say that it's a cream foxtail. And we're just going to take this and lay this in right over top. So you're laying it in backwards. Here are the tips. We're not going to use the tips at all. We're just going to lay this patch in right here. And this, the only purpose for this is to build, well, I shouldn't say build, to retain bulk when the fly is wet. A lot of times when you run the space style throughout the entirety of the shank, when it gets wet, it'll slender down some. This right here will retain your bulk a little bit more and just adds a little bit bigger of a profile to your fly. Then we're going to throw some internal flash in. This isn't a long piece, so I'm not going to use the rotary function. And I don't know, maybe 4 to 5 wraps. This is just, I know I have this package around here somewhere. This is UV polar chenille in gold. And like I said, just 4 to 5 wraps. And we're going to do the same thing with this once we get it where we want it. There we go. 4 to 5. Tie this off. And my phone's going off. Probably the Pirates. Getting pirate updates, I'm sure. Hopefully they're having a decent game tonight. So we just peel this back. And you can see we just add some internal flash to this fly. We're going to grab another stack. And this fly does take a little bit of time to tie. It's kind of lengthy, but at the same time, it's also a very productive pattern. I've tweaked this one over the last 2 years. And for the longest time, I tried to get rid of the heaviness of it because I wanted it to be versatile to where I could jig and run it cross current. And finally I gave up on that, and I was like, you know what, it's a good fly, it produces, it has bulk, let's make it a one-trick pony. And that's what I settled on. So I got rid of a few of the modifications that I made to it, and I went back almost to the original design. But like I said, this one has been a very good producer for me. There are days when it seems like the fish want a big profile, and then there are days where they want the slender. And just got to experiment with it and see what they're after. And then there's just so many different combinations too. I mean, you get into what color do they want. Some days it doesn't matter. They'll hit anything you throw out there. And then there are other days where you have to dial it in, just kind of like when you're nymph fishing or running dries. Well, you gotta pay attention. You gotta put your time in. And this kind of got away from me here. Where are we at? That's a first. Anyhow, I got that debacle out of the way. Here is the back half of your landing strip. You can see big profile, a lot of bulk, a lot of motion. The marabou is very active in the water, especially when they're wrapped space style. It just seems like there's a lot of freedom, a lot of movement. So we'll pull this out of the vise, set it off to the side for a second, and we'll get our front hook. The back hook was a 2461 Daiichi, size 4. The front is a size 2. Have our eyes and connection wire tied in already. Hopefully cut down a little bit of time. Could cut down a lot if I'd quit BSing, but that's not gonna happen, so I'm just gonna have to listen to me ramble a little bit. Alright, I like that. Grab the GSP and stay there. Take your connection wire all the way back with your GSP. Grab your wire cutters, get this out of the way, and cut your thread at the same time. Alright, back in the game. So, grab your next stack of marabou, or your next plume. Just kind of open loop that. It won't hurt if it stays in for bulk. My goodness. You'd swear this is the first fly I've ever tied. Really struggling today. I don't know what the deal is. Just off. So now, run this spay again. And pick everything out. Nice and even. Peel everything back. And there we're covering up our connection. Still adding a little bit of bulk to the fly. Peel some of this back. Take our foxtail again. Just adding bulk. Tie it in backwards. Bring this up. Trim that off. As you can see, there's a good bit of bulk in this pattern. Once we finish it off, you'll be able to see it a lot better. Next up, take your puller chenille again, 4 to 5 wraps. We're going to run it right through there, and then we're back to the spay with the marabou. So we'll just omit the rotary function yet again. This piece is long enough, but and one more should do it. And the phone's ringing. Uncle Bob. I'll have to give him a call back here as soon as we're done. So here we go, back to our marabou. And grab our hackle pliers. It does benefit you if you can get the wispier marabou. It just fills it out a little bit more, and you wind up using a lot less plumes to get to the front of your hook. I'm going to have to use 3 on this one because I'm going to preen this back just a touch and put a hook through my thumb. That was wonderful. Little prick there. I think I'll survive. Now we'll take our last stack and we'll tie this off. This will be it. Run this right to your eyes. Just kind of pick this stuff out a little bit. It will have a tendency to trap itself, but you can run it just right to the eyes. And that'll do. So you can see that is a big chunk. We have the internal flash coming through, and your foxtail kind of gets hidden by the marabou, so you don't really have to worry about it showing through a lot. Even when this fly is wet, it doesn't really come through. Now if you go using like black foxtail or something on a light fly, it will show up some, but this stays pretty well hidden, and it just retains the bulk of your fly. I really like how this works out. I've searched for a while for different materials to use. I tried craft fur. It seemed to act like more of a prop than anything. So I finally found the foxtail, and I was like, that's the ticket right there. So that's what I've been using in this pattern for about a year now. But for the head of this fly, and to finish it off, same thing as the Miss October video, we're just going with the Sanyo's laser dub. I really like this stuff for the heads. It does retain a little bit more water than the ram's wool, but it also allows you to get deeper in the water column without any weight. So if I'm fishing a real turbulent portion of water, I will run this ram's wool style head, and I don't have to add any extra weight. I don't have to do anything else, step up my sinking line or anything, and it allows me to get down further. You can see we're starting to fill things out just a little bit. The last thing we're going to do is take just a touch of red, and this is going to act as a throat. Put this underneath. Peel it back. And then one last little piece of tin. And we'll finish this fly off. And that's going to do it. We'll whip finish this and run our brush through it. Just clean this up a little bit. You don't have to get perfect. It doesn't need to be. It's super clean because the second it hits the water, it's not going to look the same as it does on the vise. But here is your finished landing strip. Like I said, strictly a jerk style fly, or a jig style fly. There is a ton of bulk, a ton of motion, but it is heavy. I will caution you on that. It is heavy. So if you're going to try and retrieve it laterally, pack a lunch. It's going to take a lot of work. But color up that head and we're good to go. If you have any questions on this, as always, shoot them to me in the comments. I'll get back to you as fast as I can. And if you take this fly out and you fish it and you wind up sticking a pig, shoot them to me. I'd love to see what you guys come up with. I'd love to see the success stories. We'll catch you on the next fly, and thanks for tuning in again. I appreciate it.